Avengers Inc. or Avengers Incorporated. I just don't get it still. We keep going, and this is, going on to the point where we said the last issue, we're not really getting the lay of the land or what this book is for, but it was interesting enough. Like
Al Ewing's trying to give us kind of this tour of the Marvel Universe, and also has this overarching mystery about what the heck's going on with this Whirlwind guy who thinks he's Victor Shade, and also put an individual mystery start to finish in every issue. And there's just not enough pages to do all those things in one issue.
Yeah, and this is actually one of those plays, because we're going to be in Valhalla. We're going to have this quote-unquote mystery that by the end you realize there really isn't a mystery. Like, you may claim it's a mystery, but it's more of just somebody doing something and you didn't know. That's basically what it ends up being, and it drove me nuts. But when we did the last issue, especially when I made a video for it and I put it up on YouTube, which people should check out, the Weird Science Comics YouTube channel, by the way. I know you wanted to tell them that, Jason.
Like and subscribe.
Yes, exactly. But when I put up our review, we ended up saying we weren't really that negative, unless we were just confused. We actually, I think you were even more positive than me, but we were kind of confused, saying, well, we're not really getting the whole play here. Okay, it's a mystery, whatever. I'm still but people seem to really be into this book, or at least the people who ended up commenting. And I asked them why, and I said, well, explain what you like about it. But they really couldn't. I think that's kind of the way this is. It's the idea that if you like it, you might just like Al Ewing. You might like the tour of the Marvel Universe, like you said. But if you really break down the plot, the mystery, I don't know. I'm more concerned or interested in Vic Shade. I'm more with that.
With the Hank Pym thing, we get one panel of a tease of that, exactly one panel this time, and it's not even giving us any information. It's reminding us that, oh yeah, Hank Pym's behind this.
Yeah, and I'll give the credits in a second. The problem I have here is I don't think that me and you, as betting men that we are, Jason, high rollers we are. The idea where we would bet that this is going to be a big seller. Like, this is a book where it really feels like if you have some big story to tell it quick, get it going, get some people behind it. Don't really, and this seems so
like
strung
a book targeted to Al Ewing fans. And, I'm kind of an Al Ewing fan. We know Ruben's a big Al Ewing fan, but I don't think somebody just walking to the comic shop or looking at, Previews World, what's coming out, is going to say, oh, Avengers Inc., Janet Van Dyne and some guy who is not actually the Vision. I don't know what the call is. And it's...
Yeah, I was just going to say that you're giving, like, what would be the elevator pitch for a comic store owner, even somebody, or if somebody got a hold of you, just said, oh, Jason, you do that stuff. It's a hard pitch. It's really
There's
odd.
also like a fashion thing where I think Janet's wearing a different outfit every issue. So if you're into that, not really my thing. As I sit here in ripped jeans and a hoodie,
That's the best. I'm in shorts and a hoodie. The idea that if anybody was there and like, I hope that somebody's just shaking their head yes. Like, that is why finally Jason understands me and my inner soul here. It is funny because when it started, it did feel like the British Avengers TV show kind of deal. It had a little mod type feel to it.
Emma
so
Peel,
I get that.
Right?
Yeah, Emma Peel, which actually I'm not old enough to have watched that, I think, in the regular run. But when I was a kid and I saw Emma, I kind of was smitten by her as a little kid. I do like her look. Yeah, really. So when you go through this, though, it's like, I don't get it, but again, it's Avengers Inc., written by Al Ewing. It's number 3, The Man Who Died Twice, again, playing that game. Pencils by Leonard Kirk. Really good art. I do like the art. Inks by Leonard Kirk and Ballardino Bravo. I'm having problems. Colors by Alex Sinclair and letters by VC's Corey Petit. So we get into this, and we saw in the last issue that, oh my God, there's problems in Valhalla.
Yeah, every issue gets one or two last pages teasing the next mystery, which is, that's a classic, like a TV show mystery. They'll do that. I like that. It's not a bad form, bad setup.
Yeah, I like it. The problem is that maybe by the end of this issue, we might say that you might have a problem when the mystery coming up isn't exactly exciting, but we'll see. Valhalla, though. All right, we're here, and pretty much we get a mystery, and I think that you would maybe agree here, because you were the one, when we first started this out, seeing somebody not reacting in the crowd, and oh my, it seems like that's pretty much like the who done it is just you have to pay attention at the beginning to see who's reacting and who's going on in the
they
crowd.
Don't quite show you the crime Columbo style, but you know somebody at the start of the issue is going to be the culprit at the end of the issue.
Yeah. And so when you see this, the really person who you would kind of hang your hat on is this older guy who basically at the beginning says,
who has the first line,
who says, "'Tis time, Scourge," right? Really. So if that's the case, and it is, spoilers, when you get to the reveal, it is that play of, could I really have gotten involved? Could I actually have played along? Because, you could guess, obviously, but you really can't play along because it's being told in a way that's supposed to be tricking everybody. So when we see it, we find out later, just as, again, a full-out spoiler, that this is a setup that Scourge is in on. So the idea of turning the giant boar, all this. I'm not in Valhalla. I don't know the rules that you don't really have to turn it, right?
This guy is secretly Odin, and Odin can kill a person in Valhalla, but you can't kill anyone in anger. That's like a big thing stated like 5 times. So it's not an anger, it's a setup because Scourge wants to be killed by Odin in Valhalla, which will send him back to Earth, I think, so he can be a guest star in Al Ewing's other book, The Immortal Thor. And Al Ewing loves to have this tight continuity between his books, which can be great, but so why do they go through this whole charade here of pretending that he's being murdered?
I know. Well,
when
they
can just go to a back room and Odin can just, cold-heartedly say, "Oh, off you go, stabby, stabby." And
the weird
done with
thing is you threw in that extra caveat, the idea of just go somewhere where nobody sees you, because pretty much
by the end, show here.
No, by the end, it is dinner theater, I guess. But you end up where at the end, Odin does say, "I can't let anybody else know because they'll want to do that," even though you're in Valhalla, first off. And he says Scourge does this because he has a vision that Thor is in big trouble. You end up you mentioned the axe and the hammer. We have that in the Thor book, the Immortal Thor deal. And this shows you, and it says this takes place during like the first issue of that. So when he sees this vision, he needs to go help Thor. He actually sacrifices a lot of stuff here when they explain the idea that if he goes back, he may never be able to get back to Valhalla now.
Right.
He's kind of given up that. That's big. So I don't know that everybody would want to go back. But in the meantime, you're playing that idea of a mortal, or gods can't kill gods. Like you said, in anger, they can't do this, that. When you're kind of getting a little swerve to the Grim Reaper, a character who just shows up because he ends up recognizing Vision / Vic Shade. But by the end, it is a god. It's Odin. Oh, Father. And he did it because it was a setup and they knew it was going. It's actually ridiculous what happens by the end. And it's just to get Scourge to go help Thor. But in the meantime, you almost feel like you're dumb at the end by trying to figure it out. And I actually, by this point, I'm not even trying to figure things out.
The whole investigation part of it. So Al Ewing likes to spend a lot of time showing us these parts of the Marvel Universe, having the characters have some nice character work, which I enjoy, setting up things for his other books. But the actual mystery part of it, the detective solves a mystery, is about a page and a half. And that's it. There's no, questioning people and putting things together and, I've learned something, but is it a red herring? No, it's like I show up, Janet talks to 2 people, I've solved the mystery. Hey, Odin, it was you, wasn't it? Yep, it was me. You got me.
Yep, it was me. Well, because he's the old guy, but we didn't know that. Now, I'll bring up something that's totally just personal to me. I used to be a big Encyclopedia Brown fan. I used to get all the books and the deal, loved them. There was one.
There was no cherry stones or stems on the ground, so Bugs Meany could not have been eating cherries all day.
And this is the problem is there was one, I was so into these, there was one where Bugs Meany ends up bragging that he has this crazy rookie baseball card. And I thought, oh my God, I'm into baseball. And basically by the end, the way that it was solved is that Encyclopedia Brown looked at the card and realized that the stats were wrong. Ooh. The made-up stats that weren't real. And so by the end, I thought, how could I play along? How could I play along? I got so mad. I was stunned.
Brown played fair.
Yeah, he did. I mean, awesome. I loved it. But this was one where I'm telling you, you couldn't play along. And it got me so upset as a little kid that
I see it stuck with you, yeah.
Yeah, it did. And so I kind of gave up a bit for a while on Encyclopedia Brown and went to like Peanuts and Family Circus. I went to the comics that deal. But even so, I was like, this is bullcrap. This reminds me of it. It ends up doing that, though.
There's a movie you should check out. I know how much you love movies. It's called the Kid Detective. And basically the premise is Encyclopedia Brown grew up.
Is that where he grew up?
And still tried to be a kid detective.
Yeah,
Very funny.
I saw a trailer for that and laughed. Yeah, I saw the trailer for that. That's pretty good. So while you're doing that, see, Al Ewing, he's not a hack. I'm not the biggest fan of Al Ewing, but I realize he gets things, and he really gets the Marvel Universe. He gets
Ruben and I love X-Men Red over in the X-Men podcast.
I always hear it when I'm editing the thing. Yeah, really. With that, and by the way, the Weird Science YouTube channel. So you end up where he is setting other things up, where where Valkyrie, Jane ends up seeing Vic, and he's got that crazy death bubble above him. You also end up where...
So what does she see there? Because we know Valkyrie has this ability to see how close people's deaths are. It looks almost like Darkhawk behind him.
It's weird. It actually, and I don't know if it's something that you're supposed to recognize right away of, oh my God, it's that. But it definitely isn't the standard, especially if you have read any of the Valkyrie books, the recent one with Jane.
But why doesn't Valkyrie say what she sees?
I know, it's weird. And even with that, the other play is that all of a sudden Grim Reaper comes in, oh my God, it's you, the machine. And you have Vic Shade knowing the name of the Grim, and you end up, that's a big play. This is kind of interesting
because Vision's personality is based on like the mind imprint of the Grim Reaper's brother, who was Wonder Man, who was dead at the time, but is not dead now. So does Grim Reaper think that Vic Shade looks like the Vision? Because doesn't look the Vision.
No, he
looks
doesn't look like it.
Whirlwind, except looks like Whirlwind with a diamond-shaped hole in his head.
But he seems
so does he just hates the diamond shape on his head?
Maybe. It seems like he is full out. He's recognizing him as Vision. He's saying, machine, getting mad. And you end up having Janet's kind of confused all around. But again, there are hints to something that I don't really know what you're hitting at. So
this is all about part of that overall mystery, I think, about how he came back, the Hank Pym stuff, which I'm curious about.
Yeah, that's what I'm curious about as well.
I'm not getting enough to make me go, oh, I got to read the next issue because of that. I'm like, eventually, there's going to be an issue. I think 2 issues from now, actually. I looked it up in Previews World. 2 issues from now, we're actually going to get the Hank Pym issue.
Okay,
so
that's
why
what
should
we
I read
need.
the next?
Yeah, and why are we reading the other? I mean, this issue is a weird issue. If you're into the series, maybe you can relax. Maybe you're used to Al Ewing, how he does things or whatnot. But at the end, again, because we're kind of done. I mean, at the end, you get a little bit of the Vic Shade / Whirlwind mystery. You get one thing of Hank Pym. But overall, we get a Valhalla mystery that only really sets up something to happen in the Immortal Thor, but also you can't play along with. And at the end, you realize it's not a mystery. It was something Odin did that he didn't want anybody to know. So by the end, I was like, really, this is what we're doing. This is what this book is about. And I kind of got angry. Not as angry as I'll get in the next book.
Yeah, it just feels kind of weightless here.
Yeah, like, it's weird. It feels like that. Why are we reading
it was a murder mystery, but it turned out just to be a nothing burger.
Yeah.
Okay. But she's wearing a nice pinstriped vest for all you fashion heads out there.
I see that. All those fashion people are like, holy moly, what is this? A mini Hellfire Gala going on in here? See, you end up even, and I will also point out that during this, you mentioned it earlier, you will have a bunch of rinse and repeat dialogue. Hey, we can fight, but we can't kill each other in anger. Then they'll say it again. Then Broomhilda will say it. Then they'll mention Jane's name, and she'll say, don't mention my name. And then we go, and by the end, I'm like, what are we doing? But still, by the end, you get the next mystery, Oddball found dead. And I thought to myself, like, of all the things leading here, this Valhalla Scourge, Oddball.
It's Oddball, who's a member of a group of juggling-themed villains called the Death Throes. Which, okay, I kind of like that pun. You got me. I chuckled at that one.
Yeah.
And they think that Whirlwind, I keep wanting to call him Hurricane, Whirlwind, they think that Whirlwind is a member of their group or a reserve member of their group. So maybe we're going to learn a little something more about what the deal is with Whirlwind.
Now, and here's the other play. As far as we know, Whirlwind, now as Vic Shade with the hole in his head like the Vic, he doesn't know what's going on. It's not like he's there and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get maybe."
He had a one-panel memory flash where he kind of saw somebody that we know as Hank Pym, but he doesn't know as Hank Pym.
So, and we all when it started, it seemed that Hank set all this up, and so we have to figure out, that's the big mystery that I am kind of intrigued by, but I need some more each issue to grab me. But by the end, I thought, like, this is a weird book. Like you said, a nothing burger of a book, mostly.
It really feels like it'll read better in trade because you won't have to say, okay, I got to wait another month to find out probably nothing. You can just read the whole thing at once.
Telling you, you don't have to wait another month to get a juggling-themed bad guy group that is going to go to Janet and the other. Yeah, so we'll see how that is. Might be kind of funny. And then in that, you go to the next, what looks like would be the next cover. And hey, you got Moon Knight there out of nowhere, but also you have Janet in like a magician's outfit. So I'm like, all right, now you got me on the fashion deal. But yeah, you even see Moon Knight, so weird. But what would you give this?
Well, it does say in the preview that this will be Moon Knight's last guest appearance before he dies.
His death. Okay.
So
there you go.
This was a pleasant enough issue, very quick read. Again, I think if I was reading all 5 or 6 of these in a row, it would be perfectly fine. The art looks great. I do kind of like that it looks different from your typical Marvel book, but nothing too crazy. Just a different kind of take to it, kind of almost a sepia-toned, little old-fashioned book.
You know what it reminds me a lot of at points, especially with the Valhalla, when you have that big, it reminds me a bit of Brian Hitch's art. When you get some of these scenes, and I like that art, and I like the art here. And you said it before you go on with your score. I wasn't angry when I read this. I'm more confused about why I am reading it. I mean, we're reading it to review, but I'm more confused about like what his plan and why the pacing is like that. But overall, you said it's quick. It's neat enough. It's kind of a neat book.
Yeah, it's quick. It's kind of weightless. You spend some time with some interesting characters, and then it's done, and you go, oh, well. Every time I get a new issue of this, I think, oh, what happened to the past 3 issues? And I don't really remember. And then I look through them and I go, oh, yeah, it didn't really matter. But it was a good enough time. So I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. It's fine.
Yeah, I think that I'll give it a 6 out of 10 as well. It's odd. I'm telling you, and when I'm done, I'm very confused about what's going on, what's coming up, what happened. Like you said, I forget what happened before. But then at the end, I'm like, yeah, I didn't really hate it. I'm not angry. When I'm done, like some book.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.